welcome to another comic spooky episode of Games My Mom Found, because we are at the end of Spooktober. I am Mike Albertin, and who's with me tonight?
It is I, the walrus to your carpenter, Kenneth Sanity.
And welcome back again.
Always a pleasure to be here.
And before we go too far, I do want to say we do have a Patreon. So as little as $1, you can go vote in our Patreon. You go right down in the show notes, and you will see a link. And I don't know what the poll is going to be at this time, but there will be a poll. So definitely go vote in that poll, only for little as $1. And Kenneth, this is completely your pick that I didn't even know existed until you told me. So,
well, today we're going to be talking about a trio of twisted tales from the mind that brought us the long Halloween. Today we're going to be talking about Batman Haunted Night by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Which is a trade paperback of 3 stories from 94, 95, and 96 that are all Halloween themed.
Close. 93, 94, 95, and it came out in 96.
Oops.
But these were all one-shot specials that were released around Halloween. They were Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Halloween specials is what they were actually titled.
Okay.
And the popularity of these 3 stories together was basically what enabled the long Halloween to happen.
Oh. Which is a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, because, I don't know. I don't know how much went into it, but just with these 3 stories, DC was like, all right, you know what? These guys aren't too bad. Let's go ahead and give them a long run. And then they give them a year-long run. Ugh.
Well, a pretty good episode, a pretty good comic, and a pretty good episode we recorded last year.
Yes, indeed.
One thing I do gotta say, his art is very unique too.
Oh yeah,
he has a very good art style. I don't remember what my opinion was in Long Halloween because it's been a while, but I liked it better in this, I think, or at least I enjoyed it in this. I can't remember what I did in Long Halloween.
See, here's my whole thing. Long Halloween was definitely much more of a not realistic art style, more like it was a lot of heavy colors, heavy shadows. There's a lot of stylistic choices that were made with how people were drawn. These are much more kind of nightmarish.
Okay.
These are all based, they're Halloween stories, and unlike The Long Halloween, which doesn't really have much to do with Halloween at all, these 3 stories are actually more of like a scary type of Batman story.
Yeah, I can go with that.
I was just going to say, in this book, we have 3 different stories. We have a story called Fears, and then a story called Madness, and a story called Ghosts.
Yeah, and 2 which are obvious, but they're inspired by classic stories.
Mm-hmm.
Which they even say in here, on the cover of the book, they say 2 Madness was inspired by the works of Lewis Carroll and John Tenniel. And then in The Ghost, inspired by A Christmas Carol. Yep,
because, that's one thing I always think of when I think of Halloween. I think of A Christmas Carol.
It worked, though.
It did.
So the first one, so I had no idea what we were coming into with this book. I was just like, okay, you suggest this. I'm like, okay, I found it online. I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this. But I had no idea what the hell I was getting into or what this was. And it starts off and it just says Fears, and then it has 1, and then it starts the book. And I was like, okay, so it doesn't take long. You see Scarecrow riding on a horse. I'm like, oh, Scarecrow story. I'm like, no wonder Kenneth picked this. He's a big fan of Scarecrow.
Uh-huh. You betcha.
What caught my attention right away. And it's just it works. Like, it starts off from Scarecrow's point of, or it's not Scarecrow. Never mind what I was going to say. It starts off Batman is narrating it as Scarecrow is riding on a horse and bursts into a bar or something. Oh, no, Batman bursts into a bar. Never mind. I am terribly doing this. You talk. It shows Scarecrow, and then it cuts.
Yeah, it's basically just like wandering around saying, hey, you know who's a menace right now? Scarecrow's a menace right now. And Batman's trying to find him. So Batman breaks into a bar and immediately starts roughing up some hoodlums, asking, where is Jonathan Crane?
But the design of Batman, when you first see him in this book, he looks like a devil. Like, it's the way terrifying. His eyes are red. He's standing in the shadows. Like, the way that they drew him, he looks like a demon, which I think is cool because I feel like it's from the point of view of the mobsters.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this story, it is called Fears. So, of course, they are going to make things look a lot more fearful in this story, at least in my opinion. And you got a lot of really clever panel setups here. There's not a lot of talking going on as Batman's just beating the absolute crap out of people.
Batman does.
But there's some great panel setups that look like they could have been taken from a horror movie. And you got immediately Batman hangs somebody up with a batarang upside down.
Of course.
And starts getting information.
This is good too, because the guy is like, he's trying to find, like, I know who you've been working for. Where is Jonathan Crane? Where is Scarecrow? And he's like, I don't know. And it's just with the fear, this guy's hanging upside down out of a window of some kind of tower by a rope, and Batman just standing there, up, grabbing him by the hair. It's very good, but I didn't really catch it how much they make him. Like, they really show the fear people are seeing with Batman at first in the way that this art is. Like, I didn't catch it until you brought it up, and now you are, it makes sense.
Yeah, and then, the next page, you go to Scarecrow, and you start finding out what he's been up to. And apparently, he's been blowing up Gotham Electric relay stations, just knocking power out different portions of the city, and he's been looting Gotham while it's happening. And this picture, you have Scarecrow kind of setting up a bomb on a, electric relay station with lightning in the background, rain falling all around him, and yikes, man. That's a creepy looking Scarecrow.
Oh yeah, no, it's a very good Scarecrow in this. Like, it's the style they did of him and the way that he talks to when they have their conversation. Like, the first thing he says, "Knick knack paddywhack, give a dog a bone." Like, that's the I can't remember if Scarecrow was like that in the animated series, if he had a lot of rhymes and stuff.
No, he didn't.
Okay, so this is just something different for this version of Scarecrow then?
Yeah, this is more, the Scarecrow is more mentally broken.
Okay.
In this.
I can see that. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
And the first line Batman says to him, "You should be afraid, very afraid," as he jumps at him. And then you have in the text box of him talking to himself that he's tired, haven't slept in several days, which plays such a big part in this, where you see Crane jump into the relay station, go on a rope and slide away to escape Batman. And I want to say Batman throughout the story keeps talking about how tired he is because he hasn't slept.
Mm-hmm.
Which also I feel works into the whole idea of fear and so I don't have a lot of experience with Scarecrow stories. I mean, Batman Arkham Asylum, a little bit from the animated series, but that's my only real experience. This is the first ever Scarecrow story I've ever read, even if it's just one book.
Mm-hmm.
But when he gasses him because he follows him into a tunnel, which again, why would you not the best idea to follow Scarecrow, but he ends up gassing him and he ends up getting to him, I want to say.
Yeah, Scarecrow's tired of not having the toxin affect Batman, so he tripled the dose. And it doesn't appear to be working right now. Of course not, because Scarecrow says, "Boo," Batman doesn't flinch, and then Scarecrow gets absolute hell beat out of him.
And he's like, "Oh my."
Like you do.
And I like this where you have something "Bolt, you freeze," and then Gordon's like, "Oh, it's you."
He finds Gordon shows up. Well, when Gordon shows up and collects the Scarecrow from Batman, he asks if Batman inhaled any of the gas. And Batman, of course, just like, "I'm fine, just tired." And you see Jim trying to reach out to Batman, to form a social thing, "Hey, Bruce Wayne has a costume thing. You could come." It's not that I want to go, but, maybe hang out.
I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. And you can kind of tell that this is early.
Well, it's just kind of funny to me. It's at Bruce Wayne's place. Not realize, because you don't know who he is. I like that. It was absolutely pretty cool. And then it jumps to Gotham Manor, and the way that they draw Gotham Manor, I thought was also very good. It just has this way over exaggerated how gigantic this mansion is.
Mm-hmm.
It was,
and there's balconies and staircases and bare trees on the outside. It has very much a Halloween vibe.
Yeah, and then you first see Bruce Wayne. He's wearing glasses, and I can't remember you see Bruce Wayne wearing glasses very often.
Not often, no.
Okay,
I feel like he did in Batman Forever when he was Val Kilmer.
Oh God, that movie. But it's interesting. It made me think of Clark Kent, the secret identity type thing. But when you see the costume party, now that I'm looking at it, there's a guy wearing a costume looks a lot like Hawkeye, and there's a Where's Waldo guy in the page too. I did not catch that before.
You got a guy that looks like Bone. He looks like Hobbs from Calvin and Hobbes.
Okay, that's who that is.
Down in the lower left, you got a guy that looks like TikTok from Return to Oz.
You got Snow White and someone handing them an apple.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of just fun little things in here. You got Milk and Cheese from the 90s comics. Love Milk and Cheese. They're the best.
Is that a villain?
No, Milk and Cheese were just like weird 90s comic, like indie comic things. And
okay.
It's one of the most violent comic series I've ever read.
Oh, all right. And I also laugh when I see a guy dressed up as a Rams, except then it wouldn't be the LA Rams. I forget what it was. I know they just changed, but I just want to make that joke. But you see the Rams, and it's interesting. Like, people are talking to Bruce Wayne, and he just doesn't really. And then you have these random, like, dogs that are there, and he runs into a woman, which is interesting because that plays such a big part of the story later on, which I like it when you get Bruce Wayne stories, too. I found myself enjoying those more than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm. Bruce Wayne stories are always interesting.
Yeah. And this is where it cuts from them meeting to Scarecrow in the van with the cops being, taken to the jail. And then he has the gas on him, and he plucks something off his mask and then puts the gas in the room, and then he scares the hell out of the officers and they crash.
Yep. Which is horrifying.
Oh, yeah. That he's like, bark, 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 and you just see panels of his face and what they see, like snakes coming out of his eyes, fire, a dog. It's pretty good.
And then, of course, the van predictably crashes. The bat signal is up in the sky, and Scarecrow has gotten away. And
then it goes back to Bruce Wayne dancing with his woman, and I like one of her first lines to him. I see you spare no expense on your outfit, and he says, "I'm not much for costumes." Like, I thought that was good. Like, their interactions, I was curious, like, where it was going, like who this girl was, and I was thinking to myself, maybe this was a villain that we didn't know about yet or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she kind of is in a sense, but not a comical one, let's say, or not one that has powers. But like, you see a panel, you see the library and how giant the library is with this ladder, and the library just keeps going, and her dogs break something. And then Alfred just brings out a steak. Yep.
As a way of distraction, which of course works. And while the woman is distracted with her dogs, Alfred drops the, oh, hey, there's a light in the sky, sir.
Yep. And then he goes, and then he asks Alfred to get her number, and then he's like, I can think of nothing I'd rather do. And I could just hear it in that voice of the way I picture the voice of that character. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do this, but sure. Or maybe I'm thinking it wrong. Maybe he's like, yes, of course I want. If you want to have a romantic relationship, I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be played either way, because for me, Alfred is always going to be the Alfred from the animated series. Just the one that's snarky and, kind of sarcastic, but loves Bruce.
Yeah. And then she doesn't even give me. She's like, "Don't worry, I'll be in touch," which I liked that too. I thought that was a good. Again, I really thought she was some like known villain that was going to appear later on in this book or something. I also did not realize that all three books are one-shot specials at first. I thought that maybe there was like a different chapter later on would have more to do with this until the story wraps up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a one thing.
Yeah, so it is pretty nice and handily enclosed.
Yeah, which I did like. And then it jumps back to Batman chasing after Scarecrow. And there's some good scenes with this, or he's looking for Scarecrow, and then you have him seeing a place that's being robbed by a couple people, and he just takes them out because, Batman.
But he also gets cut during this fight.
Oh, yeah, across the chest.
Yep, so the tired is starting to get to him.
I like this. And then you see a scene where he goes back to the house, and one panel he's walking around naked because he just takes his clothes and just throws them on the stairwell while he's going up to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's amusing. And then one of the lines you just see, like, he's like, I met a woman who I don't even know her name. Tired. And then knick knack patty whack, give a dog a bone. Where is Scarecrow? Like, I think it's good. And then you have him in bed, and then you have knock knock. And he's like, oh, Alfred, come on in. And it's not Alfred, it's the girl from earlier that then introduced herself.
It was Gillian Maxwell.
And not wearing glasses this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see a rose, and when I saw the rose, I'm like, oh, she's something to do with Poison Ivy. That's where my brain went.
That's a fair assumption.
Well, just also the fact that, Poison Ivy can, trick men.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where my brain went to.
And then we start the second part of Fears.
And there is some great artwork of Batman just on top of a building with just the artwork in the background of all the buildings.
Yep, it's raining. He's, just kind of hanging out amongst the gargoyles.
This, I don't get this. I don't. And then he gets attacked by a bunch of crows.
Yep.
Oh, I see. Okay, it explains it. The crows, we use the fear toxin on the crows, so the crows are attacking people. Or him.
Yep.
Okay.
So he's just getting destroyed by a flock of crows, and he falls. He doesn't take a controlled dive. He just straight up falls off a building.
And it shows and it even has a panel where he's fighting the crows. And he's like, it's odd. At a time like this, I'm remembering. And it jumps back to when he met Jillian the day before or the night before, and how they had a little bit of date together, had lunch or breakfast, whatever the hell they had. And it's cool to see. To see him have a relationship with somebody a little bit starting to form. And it talks about, so maybe it had been a few days, talks about how they went on a date in a park, riding in a carriage. And God, what did she ask him? Okay, Bruce, you're a man who can have anything he wanted. Why do I have the sense that you rarely get what you want?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when someone tries to rob them. And I think he just lets them go, doesn't he?
She kind of makes him let him
that's
go.
what it was.
And she's like, see, the police will handle it. Bruce, it's only money. It's not worth your life. And he's sitting there like, but I'm Batman.
Yeah. I like how everything's black and white in these flashbacks, except for the red of things, like the red of the rose, the red of her lips. I love I love that aesthetic in comics. I found out.
Yeah, it's not just Frank Miller that can do it, I promise. But anytime there's high contrast with a color accent, chef's kiss.
And then it cuts to Scarecrow. He has the cloth from Batman's suit that the crows ripped off. And I guess that was the prize or something, because he's, and then Batman, of course, had followed them and burst into Scarecrow's place.
Yep.
I do like this where he's like, Crane? Professor Crane isn't here right now, but if you like, make an appointment. I like how, it's such a different personality. It's two different people essentially in there.
Do you remember that line from anywhere?
I do not.
That was a direct lift from this book for Batman Begins. When Batman originally catches Crane, Dr. Crane isn't in right now. Maybe you'd like to make an appointment. After Crane gets hit by the fear gas.
Okay, I haven't seen that movie in a while. That's a good film, though.
And you get a lot of interesting stuff from this, mixed into Batman Begins with the Scarecrow stuff.
I always forget Scarecrow's in that movie because he's not a big part of that movie.
He's in all three of them.
I know he's in Dark Knight Rises in the court. I don't remember him being in Dark Knight, but it's been a while.
Yeah, he catches him right at the beginning. He's the drug dealer that Batman takes down right at the begining.
At some point, I want to do that trilogy on here.
One of these days, we're going to get a good Scarecrow movie. Swear to God, mark my words. It's we're going to get a good Two-Face someday.
Yeah, what do you mean? You mean Tommy Lee Jones wasn't a good Two-Face?
Actually,
he did what he had.
Feelings. I have feelings about that, and when I was young, I thought it was great. When I got older, I hated it. Going back now, it was pretty good.
So then you have Batman chasing after Scarecrow in a maze, and he gets stabbed by the bushes, and the thorns are covered in the fear toxin, I think it looks like.
Yep.
Okay, so I like how he does that, and then you just see a panel, which, God, that must have taken a while, of all these little leaves on this thorn, and Batman just clutching the wall on his knees. Yeah, and all I can think of is, God, that must have taken a while to draw that.
Oh, yeah. And this is very similar. A panel like this shows up later in the Court of Owls series when he's down in the labyrinth.
Oh, yeah.
Where you see him just clutching at a massive wall because he's at his limits. He's had no sleep. He's been ultra poisoned now by the Scarecrow.
It's so good. And then it jumps to Jillian is at the manor, and Alfred confronts her, and she's like, "Oh, Bruce told me to wait here for him," which of course he did not. I like that. And then it jumped, and then you see him running through the maze again, which it's just really another really good panel where he's a small little character in the bottom right of this big 2-page spread with just the maze. It's good. And he talks about how his father had to go to work, that no good deed goes unpunished, and then
of course you just have crows circling over the maze.
And then it jumps to chapter 3, and I like seeing Alfred being the detective here, where he's putting in the information on the back computer about Jillian, trying to find information about her.
Yep. Which is great because Alfred gets a moment to shine. Fantastic.
and then Bruce shows up in the Batmobile, comes back to the cave, but and he just is all beat up and cut up, and and then of course Alfred takes care of him, and trying to get him the antidote for all the poison. It's good.
Is messed.
And at the same time, you see Batman running around in a church because he's hallucinating from the toxin in his dream, chasing after the Scarecrow and running to an altar to be married. And it's the Scarecrow is the priest. It's pretty good.
And it's great because you can tell that, these weird dreams are really starting to focus on Batman's inner fears.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, Batman does not play well with normal life. He always, I can't have a relationship. I'm in love with the city and justice and other stuff.
He can't enjoy himself.
Right. So when you got this, stuff like this happening, there's a small maze that looks like it's made out of pews heading its way to the church, or heading its way up to the church. And he's fighting his way through this. And this marriage that he's almost thinking of allowing himself to, be a part of is being presided over by the one person who is terrifying him right now.
It's good. This is the same point where Alfred is helping him, and then Jillian just comes in because Alfred was about to tell him about Jillian, what he found out, but before he can, Jillian is there, of course. Mm-hmm. And you have some more of their interactions together, and at the same time, the bat signal is in the background. You can see the light, but he doesn't go to it.
Yep.
And he kisses her, but at the same time, he's looking at the bat signal out the window. I like that.
Because you're never going to get that full disconnect.
Yeah, you just can't. And then, they turn off so Gordon turns off the light. Oh, he's not coming. And then you just see a page of Scarecrow standing above them going, hickory dickory dock.
Oh man, like that.
Good.
Ooh.
And he just takes out Gordon. I mean, he doesn't kill him, but he knocks him out and captures him.
You don't really think about that, but come on, if everybody knows that there's a bat signal, why wouldn't the villain ever show up at the bat signal?
You know where he's going, B. It's kind of funny to me. And then at the same time, you have Bruce kind of coming to terms that he wants Jillian here, and then he's mad at Alfred for looking up, and Alfred even has the line, and he's like, I'll tender my resignation if that's what you wish. Because he gives him a floppy disk, which makes me laugh. Because technology, but he hands him a floppy.
Hey man, 93, that's how things worked.
No, I know. It's just, God, I had so many floppies full of things at one time.
Oh, same.
Just kind of funny to see. I love seeing old technology and stuff like this from, era, but it just amuses me. And then, he says he should have thrown away the disc without looking at it, left at a chance for happiness, but I noticed not to have a choice. So, and then it cuts because he sees the bat signal in the air, but now it's a jack-o'-lantern now because somebody painted orange and drew eyes on it. And so he goes to the police station. Scarecrow had took Gordon and put Gordon on the face of a clock on the outside of a tower.
Because, hey, that's always a classy one.
Yeah, I mean, he just sitting there. I don't think he's even tied. He's just sitting there. I'm just going to put you out here and have you sit here. Okay, don't move.
I'm pretty sure he's inside. He's got his hands tied at least.
Well, yeah, hands are tied behind his back, but he's not tied to the thing.
But you got Scarecrow just kind of poking his head out, talking to Jim, having a good old time.
Just saying more rhymes, too. And then the whole scene of them just running through a clock tower on gears while Scarecrow just keeps repeating, nursery rhymes and stuff until he punches him in the face and just beat the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't stop.
Oh, this is great because this reminds me of one of my favorite Disney movies ever.
Which one?
That would be the Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Fantastic movie. It's basically a mouse version of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
And the final battle between the two is a race through a clock tower.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's very similar to this.
Maybe that could have inspired them too. I wouldn't put it past them.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But Batman finally catches Scarecrow, and oh boy.
And then it jumps again to Alfred and Jillian. She shows up at the house because they're supposed to leave. Or no, she's lugging her luggage up because she's going to move in, and this is when he tells her, that she's not allowed in.
Mm-hmm.
Because he says who she was, what she does, what her real names were, her many different names, and how she always marries a rich husband who dies accidentally, and he kicks her out. And then Bruce sees the same thing that he found out, and he erases everything about her, and realizes that he won't, that he couldn't, that he wanted to, but he couldn't because he couldn't. She was she was no good.
And I thought that was really interesting when Alfred was like, perhaps it was a Batman who made the error, but only Bruce Wayne. And it's just like, oh man, oof. And
then you have the little epilogue where she's on a beach somewhere, and it says she calls herself Audrey Margaret now, and in 3 days she'll marry one of Brazil's wealthiest men, and 2 weeks from then he'll be killed in a car bomb explosion. Drug lord did this. She'll already be practicing her lines in Spanish. And then a random guy comes up to her and says, "A man gave me this gift to you," and it says "confess," a little bat with a little bat drawn around it, and just says she knows she has no choice.
Oh, so great!
It really was. When I read this, I'm like, all right, you have my attention. That's just where it went immediately. I'm like, all right. And then it jumps into a second story. In the first page, you see the second story. Like, again, I knew nothing of what we were getting into. You just see a drawing of the Mad Hatter, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I do love a good Mad Hatter story.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought you were a fan of Mad Hatter also.
Yep. I like the little guys, the ones who don't get a lot of attention. They're at least fun.
And the second story is just called Madness. I really like these first two stories a lot. The Scarecrow story is really good, and the second story, just the way it starts off too, like you just see Barbara on a train with her dad, Gordon. Or no, this is not Barbara, sorry. This is someone else?
No, I'm pretty sure this is Barbara.
So Barbara Gordon, their daughter, Batgirl, was adopted?
In this story.
Oh, okay. So it's not like a normal thing, just a story. Okay, so she's there, but she's adopted in this story, and she's writing in her diary, and they're just talking, and then it cuts to a big 2-page spread of Batman confronting the Mad Hatter.
Oh, they're flying through the train station. They go through the window.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, and they're
again,
just...
You have another villain who keeps quoting nursery rhymes. Or no, he's quoting lines from Alice in Wonderland, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know Alice in Wonderland super well. I don't know. I know I've seen it, but it's not one of those movies that ever stuck with me or anything.
Which is fair. It's not for everybody. But his whole thing is Batman's trying to track down, because there are kids that have run away and have just completely disappeared. So he's trying to find the kids, and, well, he knows the Mad Hatter's in town. So he keeps tracking them down. And what I like is that, Mad Hatter's no slouch here. He's keeping up. He's getting away from Batman.
And I like this one. There's one line where Batman says, "Trying to be rational with an irrational man, one could ask, which of us is crazy?"
Yep.
When I read that, I laughed, because I'm like, he ain't wrong. Like, why are you trying to reason with someone who's crazy?
Mm-hmm.
He is. And it works well.
Yeah, and it works for, like, they have a nice little, like, full page here of them fighting across the train, just kind of like showing them in different poses as they go along the train, just beating the hell out of each other.
It's good. And then they burst into like some kind of place with cards on the walls or something.
Oh, yes.
A card factory, maybe? I'm not really sure what.
Playing card company.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, I see that now. And then he freaks, and then Mad Hatter he sees a picture of the Queen, and he kind of like starts freaking out. He's like, oh, the Queen, off with his head. And he pulls out a machete to cut off Batman's head.
And he gets him in the shoulder.
Batman gets beat up in this.
Oh, yeah. And, you expect, Mad Hatter to have some kind of a weird, gadget or something, and takes off his hat and just, tries to shoot Batman.
He pulls a gun out of his hat.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a great magic trick.
But hey, it was good. It worked. Yeah. And he shoots Batman, and Batman falls off. He shoots him in the head, and he falls off the conveyor belt, or not conveyor belt, but on the platform that they're on. And Mad Hatter just going, I'm late.
Very much like the White Rabbit in
and then
Alice in Wonderland.
And then it jumps to Gordon with Barbara and their son and the wife, and she's trying to feed the baby, and Gordon and Barbara get into an argument because he's being an asshole to her because she didn't do something he wanted, I guess.
Well, she wants to go out.
Oh, he doesn't want her to. Okay, then they get into a fight about it.
Because it's Halloween in Gotham City.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
I get it. And it's good. And then you have the scene of Batman laying on top of a giant card, all bleeding with the 2 injuries he has, and just one big page spread. Like just one big page. It looks good. And you have more flashbacks.
Yeah, the flashbacks. This is where we probably get to the most important part of this story. Is that you have Bruce's mom reading Alice in Wonderland to Bruce when he's a child. And he's clearly having a good old time. But
I like this.
Earlier in the comic, that's why Batman says he finds dealing with the Mad Hatter more disturbing than Two-Face or Joker or Scarecrow. Because this is a memory that he has from a kid, and the Mad Hatter just perverts it, destroys it.
And it's like in this scene, it talks about how, because everyone knows on the famous Batman, you've seen it enough damn stories, where she always had the pearl necklace on that gets broken when she gets killed. And it shows you here that he was the one that gave her the pearl necklace because he wanted to make it a special night when they were going out to the movies.
Yep.
I really do.
And of course, it is that night that they're going to see the Mark of Zorro.
Yeah. It's good. And then it jumped back to Gordon, and he's sitting in the room with Barbara, and Barbara had ran away because she wanted to go out for Halloween. And he finds her diary. And then I like how his wife gets mad at him and tells him to get off his ass pretty much and go look for her.
And she's just kind of hanging out in the park like one does.
On Halloween, with a couple of guys in skull masks come up to her and try to kill her or rape her or whatever the hell they're up to. It ain't gonna be good, that's for sure.
And she's upset because she's like, well, I hate it when he's right.
And then I think, Mad Hatter shows up and shoots at the guys and they run away, which is not. And then he calls her Alice, of course. And, it's interesting because he doesn't really he kidnaps her pretty much, but at the same time, you see a little bit later, well, I guess he did have a gun, so it wouldn't be that hard. So to be like, come with me or I shoot you. So, yeah. It's interesting. Then it jumps to Batman walking around in the building trying to get out, and he's just going down a long stairwell, and he's all beat up. And when he comes out of this place, he breaks through a board. You just see a sign that says "No Exit," and I like that. How that's just one of the things that stands out here. He's underneath this bridge, and this is when some woman comes up to him, and it shows a scene of him collapsed on the ground in Crime Alley with the dead body of his mother holding him.
One of these days. But then we jump into the second part. And we start with Barbara having some tea.
And she won't drink her tea. And then you have all these people that are dressed up in costume near her that are also kids that he pretty much captured, or and one guy makes a comment, have some tea, kid. He don't like it and we don't drink the tea. And I think as you find out shortly after the tea, he's drugging everybody with the tea. It's pretty good, where he has everyone dressed up in these costumes, and then I guess somebody tries to run away at one point, or they talk about what they show somebody running away, then it shows Gordon stopping kids with his light or shining his light on kids trying to find Barbara.
And then he found the one who was dressed as the March Hare, who did get away.
That ran away.
Yep.
I see.
So he's got an idea.
And then it cuts to Batman being helped by somebody, and he sees his mother, and then it turns out to be some old woman who's helping him recover. And she's the one
Leslie.
Okay, so she's the one that took care of him in this flashback when he was Bruce after his parents died, and she tries to read him Wonderland. He's like, I want nothing to do with that book.
Yep.
Okay.
Leslie Tompkins is a big character in the Batman continuity.
Okay.
She's always trying to do something, to help out the, less privileged in Gotham. Bruce is constantly throwing money her way to help fund these projects. Batman always tries to protect these projects. So does she
know he's Batman? Or Bruce?
At this point, no.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if she ever finds out, but I feel like she does. She was in the animated series a lot.
All right. I unfortunately have no recollection of that, but all right.
But
I'm glad to know that she's a regular character. I was really confused at first, so.
Yeah. She's definitely been around for a while.
Okay. So then he gets in the Batmobile because he asks what time it is, and he heads off to where Mad Hatter is because he hears on the police scanner what they're, where they're headed, and all the police are round up at the house where the kid came from. And I like this, where Batman just like, I'll go in, you stay here.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and again, you see Batman being Batman, and there's just some little kid wearing like a tiger hat and says, "We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad." And there's a really good line where he says, "I don't know how long Gordon will wait. With his child in danger, he'll react emotionally. I fool myself into thinking I'm stronger than that." It's
so great.
And then
so
you see Mad Hatter, and he has a rope around Barbara's neck or a wire to kill her.
I think it's like a watch chain. He's like getting ready to choke her out with.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Batman's like, every scenario I think of winds up with Gordon's daughter hurt, and then Gordon just busts through the window behind Mad Hatter.
And nope, she's fine.
And then Batman chases after Mad Hatter. And you just see one scene where he's looking in the mirror, and Batman just coming behind him in the mirror and just grabbing him and just smashes his face into the mirror, or his head into the mirror.
Yep, and I do love the fact, of course, that Jervis Tetch's head makes kind of a bat-ish shape in the mirror crack. Of course. And
then Barbara goes back to Gordon and wants to come back home, and you see Bruce sitting in the library, and he pulls out a book, and it's Alice in Wonderland.
And he starts reading it while it's raining. It's a nice little ending for this one.
It's a good story. This is also the first Mad Hatter story I've ever read.
And it probably bears a striking resemblance to, oh God, what was that? Was it City or Origins that had the Mad Hatter thing in there?
Both.
Yeah.
Origins one I like better, because Origins the one that has the random girl that was Alice. That's like, he's like, "You'll be okay," and someone says, "No, I won't."
Yeah, it's pretty similar to a lot of what they put in the games. Like, oh, he's kidnapping people to play at Alice in Wonderland because he's a weirdo.
I think Origin goes, "You are cordially invited to a party." I think that's
probably.
Origins. I can't remember. I know both City and Origin both have a Mad Hatter moment. We've done both of those, but I can't remember which one is which. I just know I like the Origin one better.
Fair enough.
I can't remember if Night has Mad Hatter also. We'll find out because we're playing that next year. So we're finally wrapping that up next year, and then you get the last story, Ghost, which like the first image you even see, you don't even see the name. You just see Poison Ivy, Joker's face, and Penguin's face, and then you see the title Ghost.
Yep.
This is my least favorite of the three.
Mine too.
So I really enjoyed the first two. Like I remember I read the first two and I texted him like, "This is great," and you're like, "Keep reading," or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's still a good story. It's just not my favorite of the three, because this one is very much, as I said before at the top of the episode, this is inspired by the Christmas Carol, which I didn't read that first, but oh god, yes it is.
Oh yeah, big time.
So it starts off with it says, "'Twas the night before Halloween," and it has Bruce that had got that Wayne Corporation, the big tower, eating shrimp cocktails out of a jack-o'-lantern with Lucius Fox.
Yep, and then Lucius, this is, he never got hired at Wayne Tech, so he just kind of happened to be here.
Oh, I did not catch that. And this is when the Penguin then breaks into the place and is trying to steal from them or something, I guess.
Yep, and I like this Penguin.
I don't.
I like this Penguin.
He looks like a freaking monster.
Looks like a penguin.
Yeah. I mean, you are right. Like, his teeth are all little teeth. Like, I just don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't like this design. I mean, it's a good and it works with the story, but I just didn't like it.
Like, this is the old school, like, the Penguin is actually, has some deformities. He's had a weird life. He's not this, just this short arms dealer with umbrellas. He's an actual, like, he has actual physical deformations.
Yeah.
And then this reminds me of, like, the action hero version of Danny DeVito's Penguin from Batman Returns.
Yeah, I can go with that. His hands are deformed, it looks like, too, and with the gloves he's wearing. Yeah, I can definitely go with that.
Yep. So it's just Robin, and he shoots Bruce Wayne.
And then Bruce Wayne falls out the window, and Batman comes.
Yep.
And no one wonders how Bruce Wayne survives that. But hey. And then he has him, when he punches him in the face, and he punches that little monocle in his eye, and his eye starts his face is all messed up. Like, that just amused me too.
Yep.
Always think of the bottle cap monocle from Arkham City.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
And then he jumps out, Penguin falls out the window, and they're like, he killed himself. And then you find out that he had a freaking like jetpack on, so he's flying away.
Yep.
and Batman throws a batarang to him, and he catches him, and then he cuts the rope with his umbrella, which doesn't help him any because then he just grabs his foot. But I liked it.
I do like the whole, you blithering idiot, with your added weight, you'll kill us both. Which very much Mask of the Phantasm when Joker's getting away on his jetpack.
Oh, yeah.
You idiot, let go or we'll both die.
I didn't catch that. I don't know what came out first, though. That's Phantasm, right?
Oh, I'm pretty sure this would have been the 95 one, so I think this one might have come out first.
Huh, okay. So one of these copied from them. It's not that important.
Copies? Who needs copies? Doesn't matter. But, yeah, Batman catches the Penguin with the batarang on his foot.
And he goes home.
And he's hanging upside down.
After he does that, then he gets a little pendant, which is Lucius Fox's pendant, and he kind of mentions about that. Then he goes home to his house, to his manor, and he's like, I'm very tired, Alfred. And he goes to sleep, which, again, this kind of seems like a theme of the story where he just can't sleep.
But this is interesting because it does say that it's like, now that you mention it, I might have eaten something that didn't agree with me. And if I remember right, I'm pretty sure that's what Scrooge says too before he starts seeing his ghosts.
I don't remember it all.
It's been a while since I've read it.
Yeah, I've never read it. I just know the cartoons. Donald. It was Scrooge McDuck.
Fair enough. That's a good one.
And then you have him laying in bed. He's like, can't sleep, feverish. Perhaps that accounts for what I saw or thought I saw on the front door. Because he saw a door thing that wasn't the right one or something, I think. For a second.
It looked like his father superimposed on the door.
Oh, I see. Okay. I did not catch that. But okay. And then a ghost comes, and it's it's the ghost of his dad, all wrapped in chains, holding an MD bag.
Yep. And basically, it's the whole Jacob Marley speech.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm assuming it's from that story.
Yeah, it's from Christmas Carol. Basically, the whole, I wasted my time and I was obsessed with my medical practice. I lost sight of what was truly important. It's not too late. Your obsession with Batman creates a larger chain. Blah, 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 blah. So on and so forth, etc.
And then he says he'll be visited by 3 ghosts or 3 spirits. They're warning my son. And then he just disappears out the window.
Yep. As ghosts do.
And then you get the second dream where he's still sleeping and he gets wrapped up in vines. And you have poison ivy, which is the same art that didn't end up, that is used, the same like design of her that we see in Long Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought this took place after Long Halloween, but it does not. It takes place before because this is what got them to get Long Halloween. So I like her first line, though. Hello, lover. Long time no see.
Yep, so she's been around for a while.
She's an old character.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, somehow you poisoned me, invaded my home, my mind. And her lines, I'm flattered by the accusation, but I'm merely a player this evening, not the pilot. The real Pamela Isley is locked safely away in Arkham, where you put her. It's good. And seeing her, like, just kind of be there, and she shows him, again, more past, like it's Halloween. When he was a kid, his mom is still alive, and he's dressed up as Zorro, and he's supposed to go trick-or-treating with his dad, but his dad is working. I know, and I like that. Like, the whole, he's like, it's not fair, he promised. And then it's like, he promised. It's good. It's really good.
And then you find out that Bruce doesn't have any friends, so he can't go with anybody.
Yeah. I like that, too, where she's like, what, you said, we'll call your friend. He's like, I have no friends.
Oh, what a bummer.
And then she takes him to their first meeting when he first met Lucius Fox in France, when he was not Batman yet, but he was on the run and learning, and he rescues him and he fights off the goons and meets Lucius Fox for the first time. And
he saves that amulet again.
Which plays a part in the story. And it's cool to see. Like, I like seeing these dream sequences where he's, a third-person point of view looking at himself.
Yeah, and he's just sitting there with a cape glowering over everything. And this is, all what could have been, things that he didn't do in the past. And, like, it's showing him what could have been differently if he had played things different. And this is what they make allusion to at the party, what would have been if you would have accepted my, proposal.
It's good. And then the last thing she says to him, is that how your parents would have wanted you to honor them? You wouldn't understand. No one could. So have you said. So have you said. It's
and then he wakes up.
Yeah. And he has his third dream. So he ends up like, oh God, the shrimp that I ate, I feel sick. And then he's walking around his mansion and he hears a laugh. And he's like, Batman is also there. He sees Bruce Wayne sees Batman, which should kind of tell you it's a dream. And he goes
like he's turning into Batman as he's following these puppets.
Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, I didn't catch that. Yeah. I see what you mean now. Okay, that's even cooler.
Yeah, he's following these, and like you see, like the second one, he's got a little bit of the cape on, but his upper torso still looks like regular Bruce. And then by the time he gets to the door, he's fully Batmaned up.
Okay, now I see what you mean. That is cool. And in the room, Alfred is hanging upside down, tied up with an apple in his mouth, or an apple in his mouth, it looks like. And there's pumpkin jack-o'-lanterns everywhere, and Joker's just sitting there, laughing.
Yay, the Joker. Hooray.
I could have done without the Joker, because I thought this was going to be a Joker-free story.
Yeah. Honestly, this is kind of what kills it for me.
I mean, so many other characters to pull from that could have been here, and they pulled the Joker. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Because he's the most famous of the villains and the most popular, so it makes sense. But I could have done without it. I would have rather had someone else confront him. I mean, again, it's not real. It's a ghost, and this is him dreaming. But you have Joker confront. He tries to, hit Joker over the head, of course, with an iron, but it goes through him because he's a ghost, and of course, and then the Joker takes him to see these kids that come to the mansion but are scared to come because the mansion is haunted.
Yep, and he's effectively acting as the ghost of Christmas Present here.
Oh,
so
okay.
He's basically showing, this is what your life is now. This is not, what the past was. This is what you are projecting out in the world right now. And nobody wants to go to Bruce's house for trick-or-treating because they swear it's haunted. Guy never comes out.
And we only have Joker for 6 pages, and then it jumps to the last ghost, which is Death, or the Grim Reaper.
Yep.
You're right, though. They could have done... I mean, there could have been somebody else besides Joker for 6 pages.
Yeah, it was a waste, but whatever.
Who would you have put there if you would pick a villain you think would have worked?
Oh, man. Talk about Christmas Present. Ooh. Yeah, I probably would have picked the Riddler.
Oh, the Riddler would have worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, Riddler would have worked.
I think Riddler would have been a good choice. Like, riddle me this. What kind of person is alive but not alive at the same time?
Yeah.
And then shown him the haunted house. I think that would have been a good choice.
That would have worked too. I agree. I would have liked that better because I'm tired of Joker stories, even though I read tons of them on the show. But
yeah,
and I have more planned in the future. But that's just Batman, I guess. So then it shows Death is talking to him, and he sees the future of his house all in ruins, and Alfred is older and visiting the grave of Bruce because Bruce died as Batman.
Yep, and his grave's covered with ivy and lightning and. It's very much the typical, oh, I've died. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's, the whole idea of the story. And then the Grim Reaper becomes Batman. Or the Grim Reaper takes off his hood and he's wearing the Batman hood. He's Batman. Yep. And then, of course, the last line, spirits of these visions are things to come, or is it too late to change? And then he wakes up. And Alfred is there and shows him the newspaper. And he ends up he ends up calling Lucius Fox, sees Lucius Fox. And does he ask him to work at the company, I think?
Yeah,
no, he just gives him back his gift. I think that's what it was.
Well, he does, but at the same time, he is, he's trying to find a way of keeping his name, reputation, and Wayne fortune alive in Gotham City. So this is where he establishes the Wayne Foundation. And this is where he finally gets Lucius to start working for him, which is great. And then he does give him back the medallion.
Which is cool to see.
Yeah.
It's a nice little wrap up to the story. And then the very last thing you see is he goes out to the door and he has lights on to his mansion for the trick-or-treaters. And the trick-or-treaters come and he has a big basket of candy to give them.
Yeah. And he's finally showing his face to the world. Because he's changed. Except he hasn't changed.
Not at all. It's a good story nonetheless.
It's fine. It's a fine story.
Yeah, I mean, it's the least of the three, but it was still good besides the 6-page I could have done without.
Agreed.
It's just that one little part that I didn't care for as much.
Yeah, but the rest of this, solid book. I do like that, these were not just, 3 stories that were thrown together for this particular volume, but these were 3 years worth of Halloween stories that were all collected.
Yeah.
So, like, there's really nothing to bind them together other than the fact that they were Halloween specials by these 2 dudes.
Which led to one of your favorite books ever.
Agreed.
Which is it's a cool fact. Like, it was nice to read something where I had no idea what I was going into. And you just kind of put me into it.
And, you got a Scarecrow story. I honestly think that Fears is probably my favorite story in this one. Just because I love Scarecrow. I really do.
Yeah, I know you do. That's why I'm like, oh, okay. I see why you picked as soon as I started reading it. And I think with that, we should go to Shelf Stacker Box.
Oh, yeah.
And why don't you go first?
All right. Well, in the case of Batman Haunted Night, I will absolutely be putting this on the shelf, actually. Much like singer Meatloaf would say, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And Fears and Madness, those 2 stories for me are absolutely worth purchasing this, giving it a read through. Ghosts is fine. It's fine. But altogether, this is a great book. Great book. I would put it on my shelf and implore others to read it. What about you, Mike?
I would also put this on the shelf. I went into this book with no anticipation, I'm like, okay, what are we reading? And I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a lot of fun to read. I mean, there were 3 separate stories that didn't have a whole lot, they have an arc in a way, but they were just good. And the first story, all seeing him, almost marry this woman that turns out that she was just marrying billionaires and killing them. Like, I liked it a lot. I liked how Detective Bruce Wayne could not figure it out either, because he was under the spell, essentially, of a beautiful woman and the loneliness that was eating at him. And it was really good. And the Mad Hatter story was fun. Ghost was meh. But overall, as a story, I even recommended it to someone else recently when they were like, I need to read a Batman story. I'm like, read Batman Haunted Night if you never heard of it, because didn't even know it existed, and I enjoyed it. It's going on the shelf, and I'm really glad you picked this and that I got to read this finally. Something I had no idea existed. So, yeah. That's about what I expect. I thought we both would probably shelf this.
Fantastic. Yeah, this is a good time. I'm really glad that we got to read through it, talk about it. And anything that really gets to shine a light on the lesser Batman villains, well, that just makes me a happy man.
Plus, it's nice to read a Batman story that's not... Because, like, when you hear Batman stories, there's certain ones that always come up. And this is one that I don't think I've ever seen mention any of the top list of Batman stories.
Not usually, no. I mean, usually it's... Long Halloween, Arkham Asylum, Death in the Family, Death of the Family, Killing Joke. It's usually the big ones that people talk about. And I feel like more people should read this one. This is a solid entry.
Yeah. It was very good. So I'm glad that we read it. And if you want to hear us talk about more Batman, we have done other Batman episodes on the show. Batman Arkham Origins, episode 139. Batman Massive Phantasm, Phil 17. Batman Arkham City DLC, Harley Quinn's Revenge, Mini 13. Batman Arkham City, episode 118. Batman Arkham City Comic 24. We talked about the comic before the game. Batman The Killing Joke, Comic 22. Batman Arkham Asylum, episode 97. Batman The Long Halloween, Comic 17. Batman Death of the Family, Comic 8. Batman Hush, Comic 3. And then we covered the Batman 89 game back in episode 3 for Genesis. Which... You're just there if you want to hear it. It's old, so I don't...
Now, I'm not on all of these, but I am on a lot of these.
Yes, you are. You're on 7 of the 11.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
Yeah. You weren't always our Batman guy right away. You're just our Batman comic guy. Then because you missed Hush and Death of the Family, then you run the rest of them that we've done.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Yeah, we can cover the Hush movie someday. Because I'm sure it's different, so... Plus, I want to see it.
Yeah, it is. It is so, different for sure, let me tell you.
I will gladly watch that movie.
All right.
Batman. All right. So that wraps up this episode. And this is the end of Spooktober for this year, if you're listening to this. So listen to all the other horror stuff that we've done this month. Go check it out. We covered some good games, and we covered some good stuff. So definitely go look at everything we did. And I'm pretty sure this will be the last horror thing you... No, I lied. the time you're hearing this, there'll be one more horror thing gets released on Halloween night. There'll be one episode that comes out. So check that out too. And it's going to be Silent Hill 3. So definitely spooky. I forgot to release that on Halloween night, Silent Hill 3.
Perfect.
So definitely go check those out. And if you want to help support the show and you can vote in our monthly polls that we do, you can go down to our Patreon. For as little as $1, you can vote. And each month I do a different poll. You can vote and decide what we're gonna cover on something. You get to decide. So definitely go do that. And I want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bubby, aka Mike Stoney from ZP Bite the Bullet. Song The Cool Kid Squad. Also want to give out to our buddy Bill Tucker, who did the MCU stuff with me and guests on the show from time to time. He started his own podcast, A Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely go check him out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are on YouTube. Only audio, but hey, we're there. Some people prefer their podcasts on YouTube. And there are people out there who listen to them on YouTube. So if you want them, they're there for you. You can listen to them while you're at work. Because YouTube works well when you're at work doing other stuff on a computer. I should know. So definitely go check those out. And we will see you guys all next time. And there will be more Batman. I promise. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.